With everything that's been going on in the world lately, it is really, really good to see people who are donating their time to a community organization. So all week we've just been saying, you know, when you get home, take a couple hours out of your month and donate some time to the community organization of your choice. It doesn't have to be us. It can be anything that means something to you. But if we all kind of stay local and help each other, I think it'll make the next, it'll make everything a little bit better. After the film, we're going to have a short Q&A with Scott, and then we're going to have a performance by the other Scott. But first, I just want to hand the mic over to Scott Rosenbaum to just to welcome you.
Thank you. Just real quickly, I want to thank the panel and the entire staff, because putting on a festival like this is as difficult as it is to make a film. So all the hard work that you put into it and bringing us here, thank you. Just a quick introduction. My writing partner, producing partner, Jason Caddick, Tony Grazia, and Scott Sharrard is here. So we'll be here after the film to answer some questions and then turn it over to Scott for a fantastic acoustic performance. So thank you all for coming. I probably have every single one of you in this room to thank for something. So thank you for coming out and enjoy the film.
Turn off your cell phones. I know you're a musician, Scott, right? You play the drums.
Yes.
Are you guys all musicians? And yeah. How did you? I'm curious. Where did your love and when did your love of the blues start?
My uncle turned me on to all this great rock and roll when I was a kid. One of those bands that he turned me on to, because he was a big fan, was the Band. And between the Band and the Rolling Stones, I think I stole his Rolling Stones Love You Live record, and the Stones did a cover of Manish Boy. So I was probably 7 or 8, and then the next thing I knew, he made me watch The Last Waltz on VCR, and I see this guy Muddy Waters come out playing a Rolling Stones song. He played Manish Boy with Bob Margolin. Once I realized that essentially that wasn't a Rolling Stones song, that was Muddy's music, history of music that really inspired rock and roll that we all grew up loving. So it's his fault.
And how did this your team kind of come together and you decide, okay, let's take that like deep love of music and let's make it into a movie, or like see what we can do with this? Like how did that whole process start?
Well, Jason and I were writing a film that we ended up shooting in 2008, 2009 called The Perfect Age of Rock and Roll. And we'd written into the script this juke joint scene where the main characters are driving through the old Route 66 and having this cross-country experience trying to find their mojo and make it to Los Angeles. And when they hit this juke joint spot in the Deep South, we had written in almost on a lark because we knew these guys and loved them, that these guys would walk into a juke joint and on the stage would be Hubert Sumlin, Pine Top Perkins, Willie Big Guy Smith, and we thought if it ever made a movie and people who were watching it knew this, it would be kind of comical and it would be great for us.
The insiders.
Yeah. So when we got to shoot the movie and reached out to them, they were all incredibly gracious and came out and were thrilled to be a part of the film. And on lunch break, we all got to sit with them and to hear firsthand stories about Pine Top walking the Delta with Robert Johnson. I mean, Robert Johnson is like a Greek god. I mean, he's a mythical figure. But to have that firsthand connection, or to hear firsthand stories of Wolf and Buddy, John Lee Hooker, it was just a magical day. And after post-production, we all talked a bit and really wanted to make a modern-day version of The Last Waltz, bring these guys together in a band, and bring all the rock stars out who they inspired, which we started to do, and you see some of that live footage where Robbie Krieger's playing with them from the Doors, Timmy Reynolds, and so on. But about 2.5 years into filming, as you all see, they passed away. And it caused us to have to really go back to the drawing board and rethink the narrative. And Jay and I sat down after many years of reaching out to these musicians, getting the interviews, and hearing their stories and hearing how they were influenced by these men, and recrafted it into more of a narrative instead of a live concert film, which I think ultimately turned out to be a much better film than our original vision.
Was it difficult to get, like Bonnie Raitt and, all the, there's a whole list of stars who are in there. Was it difficult to get them to participate in the project?
Well, it would have been if it was just these three monkeys reaching out and trying to get them to come out. But really, it was a testament to Hubert, Pine, and Willie, and the love that musicians like Scott and everybody else that you see in the film had for these guys, and the respect that they had for them. So we put together a teaser reel. We were able to reach out to different managers and whoever knew them, and anytime anybody got a chance to see what the film was all about, they all said yes. So we had probably another 20 interviews that didn't even make the film.
That's for like the DVD, the Blu-ray at home, the extra scenes. How did you get Mark Maron involved?
Scott and I are huge Mark Maron fans, and he was on the top of the list. And he kept talking like over the last year or two, it's like a lot of blues on his podcast. So we're like, I don't know. We like talked about like he's gonna say no, and we reached out and he said yes, and it was amazing. It was like he was one of the top guys that we wanted, and it was perfect. So it was great.
So I know you've been taking this film to a few festivals. What has that been like? Like in Louisiana, in places where when you think of the blues, you don't necessarily think of Long Island. Not that we don't have the blues sometimes, but that's not your first thought. But you have been taking the film to places like Louisiana and Mississippi, tell us what that's been like, and what going to audiences that really live and breathe the blues from that 8-year-old who was up there. And like that. What's that perception been like?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, actually. We went to Austin. Going to Austin where Pine Top is from, and the reaction there was pretty amazing. It's just a special, it was special. And what's really interesting is us being able to get to know them is so different than, we went out to make this a different movie than what we have here. And then coming full circle after them passing, I can't believe we're looking at 2011 that they passed away. It doesn't seem like it's that long. But the reaction has been incredible. Everywhere we go, the film, this year. It's the same thing everywhere. So hopefully we'll get this out there and we'll get, Hubert in the Hall of Fame.
Well, right, exactly, definitely around the world, yeah. I know it took you guys 7 years, I think I read, to put together this film. And I'm sure that, when they passed away, it probably became more of a, I need to make this as a tribute to them. But when you're making this kind of film, what is your goal for it? Other than going to festivals and, inviting, people to come see it in houses like this. But what is, do you have an ultimate goal about where you want to see this film go?
Well, the goal of the film is to tell the story of these three men, because I think it was earned, their lives are earned, and to also show people what it takes to persevere throughout your entire life on a dream and a goal. And these guys some of these guys were playing the day before they died. And we think that that's a story worth telling. And that's, we want the film to come out, we wanted, for everyone to see it. And the memory of these guys will now be saved because of this film, hopefully, or partially because of this film.
Just on the note of both the Hall of Fame and Hubert, by the way, tomorrow would have been Hubert's 85th birthday, and there was always a night before concert at, I saw a few of them at BB King's, and they would bring out all these great musicians, Levon Helm, as you saw Bernard Purdy playing. So tomorrow's Hubert's birthday. Definitely want to get him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And to what Jason was saying, as far as the passion these men had for their music, we were with him in the hospital as he was starting to fade, and we weren't there that night. But the very last thing he asked for was his guitar. And that just, these guys, they lived it, and it was important for us to capture who they were and try to give an audience in a brief period of time the experience of who they were, as if you can spend an hour and 15 minutes with Hubert, Pine, and Willie.
So I know that there's probably some questions out here. I'll take one right here.
Well, of course, I mean, we're working on that. We have a deal right now with a group that's planning to distribute it starting early 2017. So as soon as we have more concrete news on that, we'll be able to make an announcement. But for sure, the goal is to obviously get it out and have as many people see it as possible. I mean, every day on social media, it's nonstop. When can we buy the DVD? When can I buy the poster? Where can we go see it? So it's a little frustrating because I'd love to be able to give a solid answer, but it's definitely coming.
What can the average person do to try to help with the Hall of Fame cause for the group?
Well, I forgot, that's a good
If
point.
any.
Hubert's manager got a letter signed by 25 Hall of Famers, from Clapton to Santana to Elvis Costello, on and on. And that wasn't even enough. So hopefully the film reawakens and raises the awareness of this issue, and he belongs to be there. I mean, this is the guy that built the house, as you can tell. I mean, you inspired Jimi Hendrix. It should be like, do not pass go, you're in the Hall of Fame. So we'll see.
Do we have any other questions in the audience? Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
What's the question?
It was just really a comment about how much you loved the movie. And was really grateful that your story was brought to the big screen. Well, I want to thank you. Oh, you have another? Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up and get to Scott's performance, but I just want to say one thing. The hardest thing for an artist to do is not the idea, it's the completion of the idea. And this film is done because of the sheer will of Scott.
Yes.
And I just want to say, this movie's done and we can do it. Thank you, Scott. I want to get to the performance. Thank you, everyone.
And also, I have to, just to add to that, it took, clearly took a lot of will and heart and soul, really, to make this movie. And it took a lot for everyone to come out here and support independent films like this, story.
Him in a couple situations, and I've met Pine Top and played with him at some festivals there, and I used to play at a jam session with Willie too, and this was all when I was a teenager. So those guys were a big part of my childhood, and all the Sidemen and their bands as well. I worked in all their groups. So anyway, they asked me to play a little bit for you today. You know, I haven't played this maybe since I was a kid, but I'm going to do it for you guys tonight. I'm going to do it for the Sidemen. They're not more than Sidemen. Back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago. One and one is two, two and two is four. Come on, baby, now, gotta walk some more time today, yeah. Baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago. old place, sweet home Chicago. Oh, come on, baby, let's go. I said, come on, honey, let's go. I said, come on, honey, let's go. Yeah, come on, honey, let's go. Back to that same old place, sweet home Chicago. There's an old rookie trick. We left the guitar plugged in and the battery ran out. So. But this is the secret to being a good sideman, is knowing how to adapt. Yes. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna get the battery changed and try to do another one here in a second. I was gonna say too that I was seeing Greg Allman in the movie. I was happy to see him up there. I've been playing with Greg since about 2008. And we've had a really, really interesting and incredible relationship. And it was also amazing to watch sort of the relationship between Howlin' Wolf and Hubert Sumlin. And that's a really special bond between a singer and their guitar player. And the other thing that I noticed is, you see in all the generations since these great bluesmen, even in this tune I was just playing now, there's that rhythm pattern with the seventh. And I was recently talking to Greg about the first thing he learned on the guitar. He asked me, he said, what's the first thing you learned on the guitar? And I said, well, I was pretty lucky, Greg. My dad was into some hip shit, and the first thing he showed me was Jimmy Reed blues pattern. And he goes, son of a bitch, that was the first thing I learned on the guitar. So, this is our American tradition here, is what it is, That's real. I think that's also what this movie is about, Scott. It was a great, it was a really fitting end to the movie when I saw those kids, jamming together. That's what this is all about. So this is a song I wrote actually. I'm gonna play a couple I wrote now. And I wrote this song about my time as a teenager touring with these incredible older musicians. I mean, there's also a bunch of cats you guys have never heard of who were in Milwaukee and Chicago. Guys like this bass player singer named Ron Hill, who was actually playing bass quite a bit with Willie, the drummer from the movie, and another guy named Willie Higgins, who had a great band. And I used to tour in their bands throughout the Midwest. Doing van tours, just, like three old guys and this little scraggly white kid trying to figure out how to play this music, and these guys were gracious enough to show me around it. They were the guys who introduced me to these cats anyway. And this is a song I wrote that's kind of loosely about that time I spent with those guys, and kind of reflecting back on it. It's on my last record that I did. And actually, this is a song that Greg Allman has actually sang a couple times too. It's called Endless Road. Swipe back up the band, live within my means, yeah. Well, now so many miles have passed, so many one-night shows, and every day I wait to find the endless road. Sometimes I carry this music like a bad. And people think I must be a playboy, living hard and fair. Well, another night's coming around, another small town show. And every day I wait to find another endless road. Ooh, got me running. I've already lost so much time. While the people I love are always being left behind. I went down to Memphis, chasing the past. Well, I only found a dirt parking lot covered with broken glass. You know, it seems everyone moved on, gave up on soul. And every day I wait to find another endless road. Another endless road. Endless road. Endless road. Another endless road. Thank you. You guys are too kind. I don't do this very often. I feel naked without my band. Greg and I always talk. Greg always says the same thing. He's like, man, I can't play without my band. But thank you. You guys are real kind. I'm only doing this for Scott and the Sidemen and all of you beautiful people for coming here. We really appreciate your support. You know, we could talk all day long about the musicians and how important they are, and it certainly starts with them and their brilliance. But without, you know, the support of people, we can't sustain a living and keep making music for you. So this is a community project, making this music and supporting this music. All right, I'm going to play one more for you. This is. And again, speaking of Greg Allman, this is one that I did on one of my records. We actually did it in the style of Muddy Water, or Howlin' Wolf, rather. We were talking about Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, but we ended up on a Howlin' Wolf type of feel. And the guys were pointing out how they felt like both the guitar riffs sounded like Hubert Sumlin riffs, and I said, you know what? Yes. That's the whole idea, you know? All right, this one's called Love Like Kerosene. Thanks so much, guys. Started smoking cigarettes, been sleeping in the bottle. She's not finished with me yet, 'cause I kept that whiskey, the devil in a fever dream. someday. Girls like bad whiskey, devil in a fever dream. Yes, she is. Not going in the fire, just like kerosene. No, I'm still a young man, but it's time to settle down. No, I just can't help myself every time she comes around. Feels like bad whiskey, devil in a fever dream. Yes, she is. Not going in the fire, just like kerosene. I'm not going in the fire, just like kerosene. Not going in the fire, just like kerosene, yeah. Thanks very much, guys. Have a great night.